Hey guys, my name is Matumio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Liam, and it is, for improvement to Battlefield Hardline, I reckon when the game starts, you should run into urban environment with normal AI people in their cars and on the streets. Then when the cops and robbers start to shoot up the place, the peaceful citizens all run and drive away or hide in the buildings behind desks or in rooms and stuff. What are your thoughts? This has been one of the biggest critiques that a lot of people have been having for Battlefield Hardline, because when you jump into a round, it's just another Battlefield game because it's a completely empty city. There is nothing going on. Like, there's no cars, there's no people walking around going to work. And I know that Visceral could make the argument that, hey, at the start of the round, there is that radio broadcasting letting everyone know there's about to be a hoedown between cops versus criminals. But even still, there would be at least a couple of people hiding in corners, there would be people driving around, and when there isn't any of the interaction and it just feels like this empty carcass of a town or a city, it really does break the immersion. And so if Visceral was able to add in a system where, at least for the first couple of minutes, people were running around, they were freaking out, they were trying to get out of the way, they were driving and, driving around in their cars, that would add a great sense of reality and really add something further to Battlefield Hardline. The problems that we start to run into, though, is that would the Frostbite engine or the hardware trying to run it even be able to handle a system like this? We already know that on the old gen consoles, which is what Battlefield Hardline is going to be launching on, can't even do 32 versus 32. Like, the highest they can go up to is 12 versus 12. And so then think about adding in an AI system with people running around. I just simply don't even think that that would be possible for the old gen consoles. Even for like the Xbox One, the PlayStation, and even I would even say the PC crowd, this would probably be a further strain on the hardware. Like, you have 64 people running around, but also a lot of citizens and AI also running around everywhere. That could cause some frame rate issues on all of the platforms. I don't even care if you're playing on PC, like top of the line PCs may also have some issues in this category as well. And so if they were able to work around it, if this is possible, go for it. I really do think that that would be an amazing addition in the game. Like, it could be the thing that sets it apart from past Battlefield titles, but at the same time, I'm just not 100% certain that the hardware is capable of even doing this. So awesome idea, awesome suggestion, I just don't know if it's even possible. The next question for today comes from Armando, and it is, how would you feel if DICE added bouncing Bettys to Battlefield, therefore adding another anti-personnel mine? I am not too thrilled with this notion, because personally, I don't even really enjoy using the claymores or having claymores in first-person shooters, and especially in Battlefield 4. Like, I get the concept of them. I can see how they could add some tactical value. If you're playing the objective and you want to cover one of your bases, or you want to cover one of your flanks that you're not going to be able to really look out for, having a claymore placed down in the right spot basically does all of the work for you. You place it down, and then if someone walks by and gets killed by that, well, then you know that someone was about to get the flank off. Or if they get the explosion or they take out your claymore, then it acts as sort of a security system letting you know that someone is about to round the bend and that you can get ready for them. So it can add some tactical value. But usually what happens is that they're just placed in cheap locations, not really to do that, but just to get a free kill for the player that uses them. And whenever I die to someone who just used a claymore, I never think to myself, well played, good chap, you really outplayed me in that situation. It's like, no, you placed down a claymore, I just was running around a little bit too quickly around the bend, I didn't see it, and so then you basically just got a free nifty kill. And I do realize that it does require at least a moderate amount of thought on the part of the support player to use these efficiently. Like, I've come across some players that are pretty devious with this gadget. They'll place it down in a dark section of the map where you can hardly see the little strings popping out. They'll place it at the exact angle where it makes it almost impossible for you to react as you round the bend. Like, I know that there are people out there that know how to use these correctly, and it does require at least a moderate amount of skill, but whenever I die to them, it's always cheap. It always is irritating to me. And so maybe I'm just a little bit too old-fashioned. Maybe I'm just a little obtuse about this and I'm not thinking about it from the right angle. Because when I play a first-person shooter, I usually like to get in firefights with player. I like the whole first-person shooter component of it. And so when I die to a bouncing Betty, a claymore, or some sort of explosive device where while yes, you could make the argument that as long as I was being observant and I wasn't rounding the corner at Mach 5, I could have come out of that situation alive. They're just irritating gadgets to me. And so the prospect of adding in another anti-personnel device into Battlefield, while I know that would be very appealing to probably DICE because they're all about adding in as many crazy customization options and giving us a lot of tools at our disposal to play Battlefield however the hell we want, at least from my standpoint, I'm just not 100% sold on it right now. If they did want to add it on in though, they would need to approach it from different angles. Like, first of all, they would want to make sure that it doesn't just nullify or make the Claymore obsolete. Like, why even have the Claymore in at that point? Because you have to remember, the Claymore only kills from one direction. A bouncing Betty kills everything in a radius around it. Like, you step on a bouncing Betty, it flies up in the air and, of course, just explodes and, well, kills you. That's how a bouncing Betty works. And so, if it has the same type of explosive radius, or it has the same type of killing potential as a Claymore, but it can kill enemies in all directions, why would anyone want to use a Claymore at that point? So maybe make it so that the blast radius isn't as large as a Claymore. Maybe make it so that it only does 80% of a player's health. Maybe it won't completely finish them off. I don't know. You know, that would be one thing that they would also have to take into consideration. But they would also need to make it so that it's very obvious when you're about to step on one of these bouncing Betties, as long as you're paying attention to the environment around you. This is one of the things that I love about the Claymores, and I have to give a tip of my hat to DICE on, is that they've made it abundantly clear where one of these things is placed. Like, those lines that sprout out are fantastic, and as long as you're being observant and you round a corner and you see one of these lines, it makes it very easy for you to avoid getting killed by one of them. I love the way that they've handled it, especially from what they had back in Battlefield 3. And so with a bouncing Betty, how would you go about giving that information to the players? Would you make it so that it's a very obvious color? Would you make it so that it's very large? Does it have some weird things sticking up from it? So as long as you notice that weird device sticking out of the ground, then you know that it's a bouncing Betty? Because if it's just a random object on the ground, that's going to be very hard for people to detect. Like, there's already an incredible amount of rubble on every map in Battlefield, and if there's just one extra little object on the ground, people aren't going to notice that, and if they immediately die from something, it's going to be really annoying. And so these are things that DICE would have to take into consideration if they wanted to add in a gadget like that. If you can't tell, I'm not 100% sold on it, but if it was implemented correctly and they added it with finesse, you know, I guess it could be an interesting addition into the game. The next question for today comes from Jerry, and it is, are you excited about Borderlands the pre-sequel, and will you be picking it up? This may come as a surprise to a lot of you, but I don't really enjoy the Borderlands franchise. Like, it's funny, it's quirky, I like the humor of it, there were some pretty cool moments amongst the story, but when you get down to the gameplay and the actual mechanics behind it, it is very repetitive. The first time I picked up a quest where it told me to go run out and kill 10 creatures off in the distance and then bring back their carcasses for this merchant, I thought to myself, is this really happening? Am I playing a single player MMO? Is it really requiring me to go out and have a kill quest? Like, what the hell is this? And while it doesn't happen all that often, and a lot of these are side missions, because the game, or at least the way that I was playing it, basically required you to do these side missions to keep up with the story and to be at the right level to complete the story, it just felt like an MMO, but for a single player. And then when you actually play with the weapons and things like that, it's just a basic first-person shooter. And I know I'm being a little hypocritical here because I'm someone who does really enjoy Destiny, and you could definitely make the argument that that game is very repetitive. But I don't know what it is. Maybe I just wasn't in the best mindset when I jumped in and played Borderlands for the first time. And so while I know that many people are excited about it, I'm not knocking it because I know that this game does hold a lot of value for some people. It's just not something that is my cup of tea. And so I'm not really too enthusiastic about the upcoming prequel. The next question for today comes from Bradley, and it is, what do you think of the idea of 2 types of ammo bags? One for bullets and one for explosives. This way, support players will have to think about the situation on the battlefield and whether or not they want bullets or explosives. This could also help reduce the amount of grenade spam. I like this idea because you are 100% right. If they added in 2 different types of ammo bags, that would 100% reduce the amount of grenade spam in Battlefield 4. Because when you really think about it, if you had to make the choice between having an ammo bag or a grenade bag, which one are you going to choose? At least in my mind, maybe I'm just completely different from the vast majority of the players in this game. I'm going to go with the ammo bag. Like, sure, having a grenade is great, and maybe if I'm playing on Operation Metro, my decision might be swayed differently. But if I'm playing on really any other map than Metro and Locker, I'm going to be choosing the ammo bag. It's way more beneficial to my team. I'm going to want ammo a lot more than I'm going to want a grenade or some sort of explosive device, and so that decision is really easy for me. That being said, though, I don't even know if this is necessarily needed because of the most recent patch update. If you're not aware, DICE has slashed grenade spam almost out entirely. You only get 1 impact grenade, 2 mini grenades. I think it's, of course, like everything else is basically the same, but also it takes an incredible amount of time for you to recharge your grenade when you're on top of one of these ammo bags. I think it took like 7 seconds in the past to get another impact grenade. It now takes 25 seconds. Not a lot of people are going to wait 25 seconds on an ammo bag just to get 1 more grenade. They're going to go use their primary weapon. And so I think pretty much across the board, the shift in the mentality of a lot of players is that they're not going to rely as much on their grenades. They're not going to sit on the ammo bags for 25 seconds to get another one. No, they're going to want to get back into the action. They're going to want to get right into the thick of things, and so they're going to rely more on their primary weapon and the whole first-person shooter aspect of it. So while I love your idea, I think that before this most recent update, it would be a great way to get rid of grenade spam. Because the way that DICE has already gone about it, I just don't think that this is really needed at this point. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.